There was a question, what can coaches, players, parents do to support younger players and create a culture of a positive mindset? And then there was a second question off of that. The idea of balance is so important. How can it be recognized, reinforced by the club? And I'll leave that in the chat as well.
Can I answer?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So I think I have my own son who's 7 years old, and I think there's a difference between the word pacing that might be used and things, but I would like again to turn it around and say, whenever you have some kids going to a training, I want my son to make an effort to tell him that we're going to this football training because you really want to. You told me you want to. So let's use the next hour or so where you are focused, because if you're focused and you concentrate and you listen, then everything will be much more fun instead of being everywhere else and not acknowledging that this is where we are now. I want your best, as much as you can give the best, because then I feel that he's actually also learning a bit more. So in sense of also knowing that sometimes to sit down before the training and talk to the boys, the coach might say, listen, the training will be much better if you are in a line and you look what the other do and you encourage each other and you're positive into each other, instead of walking around and not paying attention to when another one is maybe having some passes exercises. So going back to the story about me being on the bench and not being there actually made it much worse in some way. So I think sometimes it's good to having the thought about, when we help each other, the training and the session will be much better if we are united by it, instead of only one paying attention at a time. It will be much more difficult.
I would agree with that, and also add that this idea of how do you want to show up, like thinking, what do we embody as parents, as coaches, what kind of a culture are we creating? And that's about modeling. And it's so interesting, all the research around aggressive, angry coaches actually lead to frustrated, error-prone, underperforming athletes. And so we need to, when, like, as coaches or parents, if we're like angry at them or frustrated with them, we're actually not helping. So that's one thing. And the other thing is something that I talk to to the girls that I coach. We talk about, and we do this before every practice, we do this at every game and in timeouts. We talk, how could this be valuable? How could this experience be valuable? So that they then have intention that even if they're in a game to 25, even if they're down, 20-10, they're like, how can we make this experience valuable? So you're not giving up because you don't think you can actually win. But it's about, how do we help them to realize that, hey, this is my opportunity to, and this is where I feel like we put it in our kids' court too, is we let them come up with it rather than us necessarily telling them what they need to do. But we say, what would help you? What do you think would help? What would it be like? How do you think you would be on the sidelines? What's the best way that you learn? What helps you to pay attention? And let them come up with it. And then we treat it as we're just reflecting. And we're like, afterwards, we don't go like, oh, I noticed you didn't do this. We're like, oh, okay, I'm wondering how that was for you. And what did you notice? And what did you learn? And so that we're actually embracing this culture of this trial and error, iterative experience of, we're learning because we're trying things out and making mistakes. And not like, if we are hard on them because of mistakes, then the lessons they learn are like, I shouldn't make mistakes, I shouldn't try, or I should blame someone else so that it doesn't reflect on me.